The massive chamber fell silent as Tae-ho Kim walked to the center platform. Above him, thousands of alien beings watched from floating seats that circled the room like a giant bowl. Their eyes glowed in different colors, some red, some blue, some colors that humans had no names for. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Tae-ho wore his best black suit, the one with Earth's flag on the shoulder. He had practiced this walk many times, but his heart still beat fast. Behind him, Dr. So-Young Park carried a small device that would record everything. She was the smartest person he knew, and even she looked worried. Speaker Velthar rose from the highest seat. The alien was tall and thin, with skin that looked like silver metal. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere at once, like thunder, in a cave. "Ambassador Kim of the planet Earth," Velthar said. "You stand before the Galactic Council Senate to hear our decision about your species." Tae-ho nodded. "I am ready to listen, honored speaker." The chamber filled with whispers in 100 different languages. Some sounded like music, others like wind through trees. Tae-ho had learned to read the mood of alien crowds. Today they were afraid. Velthar raised one long arm. The whispers stopped. "The Council has studied your species for 10 Earth years. We have watched your wars, your weapons, your rapid growth across the stars. We have seen how quickly you learn, how fast you build new ships and new guns. This troubles us greatly, Doctor." So-Young Park stepped closer to Tae-ho. She whispered in his ear, "They're scared. Look at their body language." Tae-ho looked around the chamber. The crystal beings called Zephyrians were glowing brighter than usual, a sign of stress. The collective, which looked like a group of insects working together, was moving in quick, nervous patterns. Even the ancient ethereals, who were so old they barely had bodies anymore, seemed more solid than normal. "Your species," Velthar continued, "has shown patterns that concern us. In the Outer Rim conflicts, you defeated 3 different alien armies using methods we had never seen before. You turned cargo ships into weapons. You used music as a psychological weapon. You even convinced enemy soldiers to change sides." A new voice spoke up. It belonged to HFY, a representative of the Zephyrian crystals. When it talked, its whole body rang like a bell. "The humans are unpredictable," HFY said. "They do not follow the normal rules of war. They make friends with their enemies. They use humor in battle. They sacrifice themselves for strangers. We cannot understand them." More voices joined in. The chamber became loud with complaints and fears. They adapt too quickly. Their population grows too fast. They ask too many questions. They never give up. Velthar raised both arms. Silence returned. "Therefore," the speaker said, "the Galactic Council Senate has reached a decision. The human species must completely disarm within 30 standard days. All weapons must be destroyed. All military ships must be dismantled. All soldiers must return to peaceful work." Tae-ho felt cold. He had expected this, but hearing it still hit him like a punch to the stomach. Behind him, Dr. So-Young Park made a small sound of surprise. "If humanity refuses," Velthar continued, "the combined fleets of the Council will enforce this decision. We do not wish to harm your species, but we cannot allow you to threaten the peace of the galaxy." The chamber waited. Every alien eye was on Tae-ho. He could feel the weight of their stare, the fear behind their demand. These beings had lived in peace for thousands of years. Humans had been in space for less than a century, and already they were changing everything. Tae-ho cleared his throat. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. "Honored speaker, respected members of the Council, I understand your concerns. Humanity is indeed different from other species you have known. We are young, we are curious, and yes, we can be dangerous when threatened." He paused and looked around the chamber. "But we are also loyal to our friends and protective of the innocent. Every battle we fought in the Outer Rim was to defend smaller species from raiders and slavers. We did not start those conflicts. We ended them." HFY's crystal body rang again. "You ended them by becoming more dangerous than the raiders themselves." "We ended them by being smarter," Tae-ho replied. "We studied our enemies. We learned their weaknesses. We found ways to win without massive bloodshed. Is this not better than the old ways of simply throwing more ships and soldiers into battle? An ancient ethereal spoke, its voice like wind through empty spaces. Young species, your methods work, but they change too much, too fast. The galaxy has been stable for millennia. Your arrival has created chaos. Dr. So Young Park stepped forward. Honored beings, may I speak? Velthar nodded. I have studied each of your species, she said. Your histories, your cultures, your biology. Each of you has faced extinction at least once. The Zephyrians survived by learning to work together as one mind. The collective survived by becoming perfect at their assigned tasks. The ethereal survived by becoming more than physical beings. She looked around the chamber. Humans survive by adapting, by changing, by refusing to accept that any problem cannot be solved. You fear us because we are different, but difference is what has kept every species in this chamber alive. The chamber erupted in voices again, some angry, some thoughtful, some afraid. Velthar called for silence once more. The decision has been made, the speaker said. Ambassador Kim, does humanity accept these terms? Taeho was quiet for a long moment. In that silence, he activated his personal communicator with a simple touch. The signal would take hours to reach Earth, but it would arrive with a coded message that would change everything. Honored speaker, Taeho said finally, humanity requests the standard 72-hour consideration period, as allowed by council law. Granted, Velthar said. You have 72 hours to respond. As the session ended and the aliens began to leave, Taeho remained standing on the platform. Dr. So Young Park joined him. What did you just do? She whispered. Taeho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a human made when they were about to do something that would surprise everyone. I just told Earth that Protocol 7 is now active. What's Protocol 7? Taeho looked up at the empty seats where the aliens had been sitting. Something we hoped we would never need to use. The secure communication room in Geneva was built deep underground. The walls were thick metal, and no signal could get in or out unless the people inside wanted it to. President Miran Choi sat at the head of a long table, her face serious as she watched the holographic display show Taeho Kim's message from the Galactic Council. Around the table sat the most important people on Earth. General Dong-Hyun Yu commanded all of Earth's armies. Admiral Hee-Jin Lim controlled the space fleet. Dr. Kyung-Soo Han ran the secret research projects that most people didn't know existed. So they want us to give up all our weapons, President Choi said after the message ended. Just like we thought, they would. General Yu leaned back in his chair. He was an old soldier with gray hair and scars on his hands. Ma'am, we've been ready for this day for 5 years. Every war game, every training exercise, every new ship we built, it was all preparing for this moment. Admiral Lim nodded. She was younger than the general, but her eyes were just as hard. Our fleets are already moving into position. The aliens think they're watching us, but they're only seeing what we want them to see. Dr. Kyung-Soo Han opened a file on his tablet. Project Prometheus is ready for activation. All research sites are standing by for your order. President Choi looked at each person around the table. These were people who had spent their whole lives protecting Earth. Now, they were about to do something that would change humanity forever. Dr. Han, she said, remind me what Prometheus actually does. The scientist's eyes lit up. He had worked on this project for most of his adult life. Ma'am, when the council first made contact with us, we realized something important. Every alien species we met had solved the problem of survival in their own way. The Zephyrians became a group mind. The collective became perfect workers. The ethereals became energy beings. He touched his tablet, and the air above the table filled with images. But humans are different. We survive by changing, by adapting, by never accepting that something is impossible. So we asked ourselves, what if we could change in ways that made traditional warfare meaningless? The images showed laboratories, space stations, and machines that looked like nothing anyone had seen before. Prometheus has 3 main parts, Dr. Han continued. First, we developed quantum storage technology. We can hide entire fleets in pocket dimensions. Second, we created consciousness transfer systems. If a human body is destroyed, their mind can immediately move to a new body anywhere in human space. President Choi sat forward. And the third part? Quantum communication networks. Every human in the galaxy is now connected to every other human. We can share knowledge, coordinate actions, and respond to threats faster than any alien species has ever imagined. General Yu smiled. It was not a nice smile. Ma'am, while the Council has been debating whether to disarm us, we've been making sure that disarming us is impossible. Admiral Lim activated her own display. Our civilian cargo ships can reconfigure into battlecruisers in under 60 seconds. Our scientific research stations are actually fortress platforms. Our peaceful colonies are military production centers. But the most important thing, Dr. Han said, is that we're not just hiding weapons. We're evolving beyond the need for them. President Choi stood up and walked to the window. Even though they were underground, the window showed a live view of the surface. Geneva looked peaceful, with people walking in parks and children playing in the streets. But she knew that everything was about to change. How many people know about Prometheus, she asked. Every human adult in the galaxy, Admiral Lim replied. We couldn't hide something this big. Instead, we made sure everyone understood why it was necessary. And they agreed, General Yu answered. Ma'am, humans have been fighting for survival since we first walked out of Africa. Every person alive today is descended from people who refused to give up when things looked impossible. When we explained what the Council might demand, every human colony, every space station, every research facility volunteered to be part of the project. Dr. Han pulled up another image. It showed a map of human space, Earth, Mars, the Moon, dozens of colonies on distant worlds and hundreds of ships traveling between them. Every red dot you see is a Prometheus facility, he said. Every blue dot is a consciousness transfer station. Every green dot is a quantum communication hub. The map was covered in colored lights. There were thousands of them. President Choi returned to her seat. And the aliens don't know about any of this? They know we're up to something, Admiral Lim said. Their sensors can detect unusual energy readings, but they're looking for weapons, ships, and soldiers. They're not looking for what we actually built, which is, Dr. Han smiled, a completely new way for humans to exist. Ma'am, when Prometheus is fully activated, death becomes temporary, distance becomes meaningless, and human knowledge becomes shared instantly across the galaxy. President Choi was quiet for a long moment. Outside, she could hear the sound of children laughing. Soon those children would grow up in a galaxy where humans could never be conquered, never be enslaved, and never be forced to surrender. Dr. Han, is there any way to go back once we activate Prometheus? No, ma'am. Once we take this step, humanity will be permanently changed. We'll still be human, but we'll be human in a way that no one has ever been before. General Yu leaned forward. Ma'am, the aliens are afraid of us because we're unpredictable. They want us to disarm because they think that will make us safe to be around. But they don't understand that our unpredictability is exactly what has kept us alive. Admiral Lim nodded. If we give up our weapons, we'll just find new ways to protect ourselves. And those new ways might be even more frightening to them. President Choi looked around the table one more time. These people had devoted their lives to protecting Earth. Now they were asking her to approve a plan that would protect not just Earth, but every human who would ever live. Begin the activation sequence, she said. Send the message to every human facility in the galaxy. Tell them it's time to show the Council what humanity really looks like when we're backed into a corner. Dr. Han's fingers flew over his tablet. Within seconds, quantum signals were racing to every corner of human space. On Mars, engineer Jae-min Song received the signal at the massive facility hidden beneath Olympus Mons. He turned to Dr. Yoon-ji Kang, who was monitoring the consciousness transfer systems. It's time, he said. Dr. Kang smiled. Then let's show them what humans do when someone tries to take away our future. Across the galaxy, in every human colony and on every human ship, people received the same message. It was short, simple and clear. Remember who we are. And for the first time in human history, every person answered at exactly the same moment. Their thoughts connected across impossible distances. We are the species that never gives up. Captain Young-Ho Park stood on the bridge of the battleship Seoul as it approached Earth's orbital shipyards. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They all knew what they were supposed to do, but they also knew that appearances could be deceiving. "Captain," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving the final shutdown orders from Earth Command." "Understood," Young-Ho replied. "Begin the decommissioning sequence." On screens throughout the galaxy, alien observers watched as human warships returned to Earth. The mighty fleet that had defeated raiders in the Outer Rim was coming home. Weapons were being removed, armor was being stripped away, and soldiers were leaving their posts. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations recorded everything. Their sensors showed human military bases going dark one by one. Weapons factories stopped producing ammunition. Training facilities emptied as soldiers returned to civilian life. Speaker Velthar watched the reports from his private chambers. The silver-skinned alien felt relief for the first time in months. Perhaps the humans would accept the Council's wisdom after all. But on the Seoul, Captain Young-Ho was smiling as he watched his weapons being removed. The massive railguns that had torn through enemy ships were carefully detached and loaded onto transport vessels. To alien sensors, it looked like disarmament. In reality, each weapon was being encoded with quantum signatures and stored in dimensional pockets that existed outside normal space. Dr. Nari Kim worked in her laboratory deep beneath the lunar surface. Her team had spent years developing the quantum storage technology that made Project Prometheus possible. Now they were using it to make humanity's entire military disappear, without actually destroying anything. "How many ships have we processed?" she asked her assistant. 87% of the fleet, Doctor. The remaining vessels will be completed within 12 hours. Nari nodded. Each ship was being broken down to its basic components, quantum encoded, and stored in pocket dimensions. The aliens saw scrap metal being hauled away. They didn't see that the scrap metal could be instantly reconstructed anywhere in human space with a simple command. On the monitoring station Nexus 7, Zephyrian observer Klisk High reported to the Council. Its crystal body glowed with satisfaction. "Seeing, humans are complying fully," it transmitted. "Their military strength decreases by the hour. Soon they will be no more dangerous than any other peaceful species." But Klisk High didn't know that every dismantled weapon was actually being upgraded. Colonel Seung-Wan Chang walked through what appeared to be an abandoned military base on Mars. To any observer, the facility looked empty. In reality, it was more active than ever. "Show me the personal defense systems," he said to his aide. Thine. Aide handed him what looked like a simple wristband. "Sir, this contains enough defensive capability to protect against anything short of a planetary bombardment. The user becomes virtually indestructible." Colonel Chang put on the wristband. Instantly, he felt the device connect to his nervous system. Around him, the air began to shimmer slightly as personal shields activated. "Test it," he ordered. His aide fired a standard military rifle at him. The bullet stopped 3 inches from Colonel Chang's chest, held in place by an invisible force field. "Impressive," the colonel said. "How many have been distributed?" "Every human civilian and military personnel now has one, sir. They think they're new communication devices." The colonel smiled. The aliens wanted humanity disarmed. They had no idea that every human was now more dangerous than a squad of soldiers had been just weeks before. Meanwhile, Captain Young-Ho Park was demonstrating another aspect of humanity's compliance to a secret inspection team. The team consisted of 3 council representatives who had grown suspicious of humanity's cooperation. "As you can see," Captain Park said, gesturing to his ship, "the Seoul is now completely unarmed. We've removed all weapons, all military equipment, all combat systems. The alien inspectors used their advanced scanners. They detected no weapons, no armor, no military technology of any kind." The ship appeared to be exactly what Captain Park claimed, a harmless transport vessel. What they didn't detect was that the ship's entire structure could reconfigure itself in 37 seconds. The hull plates could slide apart to reveal weapon ports. The cargo bay could transform into a fighter launch deck. The navigation computer could become a targeting system more accurate than anything the aliens had ever seen. "We are satisfied," announced the lead inspector, a collective member whose insect-like body clicked as it moved. "This vessel poses no threat to galactic peace." After the inspectors left, Captain Park activated his quantum communicator. Instantly, he was connected to every other human ship captain in the galaxy. "Report status," he transmitted. The responses came immediately, not through radio waves that could be intercepted, but through quantum entanglement that was faster than light and impossible to detect. Daihan reconfigured and ready. Busan weapons. Systems quantum stored and accessible. Incheon crew consciousness backup complete. Jeju defensive systems online. One by one, every ship in humanity's civilian fleet reported the same thing. They appeared harmless to alien sensors, but they could transform into weapons of war faster than any alien could react. Dr. Nari Kim received reports from across human space. The project she had spent her life developing was working perfectly. But the quantum storage systems were only the beginning. She activated her personal communicator and connected to the network that now linked every human mind in the galaxy. The sensation was strange. She could feel the thoughts and emotions of millions of people, but each person remained individual. It was like being part of a vast family where everyone could talk to everyone else at the same time. "Network status. Report," she transmitted through thought alone. The responses flooded back instantly. Every human colony, every research station, every hidden facility was connected. For the first time in history, humanity was truly united. But more importantly, they were unified in a way that made traditional warfare obsolete. If aliens attacked one human settlement, every other human would know instantly. If they destroyed one human body, that person's consciousness would immediately transfer to a new body light years away. On Earth, President Miran Choi watched the reports with satisfaction. The aliens thought they were watching humanity disarm. In reality, they were watching humanity evolve into something the galaxy had never seen before. "Ma'am," General Dong Hyun-yu reported, "Phase 3 is complete. Every human facility is now connected to the quantum network. Every weapon has been stored in dimensional space. Every person has consciousness backup capability. And the aliens still don't suspect? They're detecting exactly what we want them to detect. Energy signatures that match disarmament. Ship movements that look like withdrawal. Personnel transfers that appear to be soldiers returning to civilian life." President Choi nodded. "Then it's time for Phase 4. "Yes, ma'am. Should we demonstrate what we've really accomplished?" President Choi looked out at the stars. Somewhere, out there, alien leaders were congratulating themselves on successfully disarming the dangerous humans. They had no idea that they had actually forced humanity to become something far more formidable than they had ever been before. "Begin the demonstration," she said. "It's time to show the Council what happens when you try to take away humanity's future." Speaker Velthar's private chamber was filled with urgent warning signals. The silver-skinned alien leader stood before a wall of displays showing energy readings from across human space. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The readings made no sense. Human facilities that should have been shut down were generating massive amounts of power. But when the Council's ships investigated, they found nothing unusual. "Summon Ambassador Kim immediately," Velthar commanded. Within an hour, Tae-ho Kim stood once again in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. This time the mood was different. The aliens were nervous, suspicious, and afraid. "Ambassador," Velthar said, "our sensors are detecting energy signatures from your facilities that do not match any known technology. We demand an immediate inspection of all human installations." Tae-ho remained calm. He had been expecting this moment. "Honored Speaker, humanity has fully complied with your disarmament order. However, if you wish to inspect our facilities, we will allow it under one condition." "What condition?" The Council must witness a demonstration of humanity's true defensive capabilities. The chamber erupted in angry voices. How dare the humans make demands? They were supposed to be disarmed and helpless. Velthar raised both arms for silence. You are in no position to make conditions, Ambassador. Teho smiled. Respected speaker, I think you will find that humanity is in a much different position than you believe. Dr. So Young Park stepped forward. If I may, honored beings, we would like to invite a small group of council representatives to witness something that will answer all your questions. The inspection team consisted of 5 representatives from different species. They followed Teho and Dr. So Young Park to a transport ship that looked completely ordinary. The ship took them to Luna, Earth's moon, where they landed at what appeared to be a simple research facility. Dr. Sung-Min Oh met them at the entrance. He was a thin man with kind eyes who looked more like a teacher than a scientist. Behind him stood Major Yeon-seo Lim, a young woman in a simple uniform. Welcome to the Lunar Research Center, Dr. Oh said. We are going to show you something that will change how you think about warfare, defense, and life itself. The alien representatives were suspicious. Their scanners showed a normal research facility with standard equipment. Nothing seemed dangerous or threatening. We know you believe that disarming humanity means taking away our weapons, Dr. Oh continued. But what if I told you that humanity has moved beyond the need for traditional weapons? Krexhai, the Zephyrian crystal being, rang with skepticism. Impossible. All species require weapons for defense. Do they? Major Yeon-seo Lim asked. What if death itself became temporary? What if distance became meaningless? What if every human could share knowledge instantly with every other human? The aliens looked at each other with confusion. What were these humans talking about? Dr. Oh led them to a laboratory filled with strange machines. In the center of the room was a chair connected to thousands of thin cables. Major Lim, Dr. Oh said, would you please demonstrate Project Prometheus for our guests? Major Lim nodded and sat in the chair. The cables attached themselves to her head and body. What you are about to see, Dr. Oh explained, is the result of 10 years of research into consciousness, quantum mechanics, and the nature of existence itself. On a screen above the chair, complex patterns began to appear. They showed brain activity, but also something else, something that looked like pure energy. Every human, Dr. Oh said, now has their consciousness backed up in our quantum network. Watch. One of the alien representatives, a collective member, suddenly raised a weapon. Before anyone could stop it, the creature fired a plasma bolt directly at Major Lim. The young woman's body was instantly destroyed. The aliens gasped in horror, but Dr. Oh remained calm. Please watch the screen. The energy patterns on the screen had not disappeared. If anything, they were growing brighter. Across the room, another chair began to activate. Energy flowed into it, and slowly, Major Yeon-seo Lim's body began to form. First as light, then as energy, then as solid matter. Within 60 seconds, she stood up from the second chair, completely unharmed. Hello again, she said to the shocked aliens. As you can see, killing my body didn't actually kill me. The alien representative stood in stunned silence. What they had just witnessed was impossible according to everything they knew about biology and physics. How? Whispered the ethereal representative, its voice barely more than wind. Dr. Oh activated a holographic display that showed the entire human network. Thousands of lights connected by streams of energy stretched across the galaxy. Every human is now connected to this network, he explained. If one body is destroyed, the consciousness immediately transfers to a new body. The process takes less than 1 minute. Krexhai's crystal body rang with fear. You have made your species immortal? Not immortal, Major Lim corrected, but very, very difficult to kill permanently. Dr. Oh touched the display, and it zoomed in on Earth. The planet was surrounded by a network of energy nodes. But that's not all, he said. Every human can now communicate instantly with every other human regardless of distance. We share knowledge, coordinate actions, and respond to threats faster than light can travel. The display showed a simulation. An attack on one human colony resulted in instant response from a dozen other colonies. Ships materialized from nowhere. Weapons appeared as if by magic. The attackers were overwhelmed before they could even understand what was happening. Your weapons? The collective representative clicked nervously. Where do they come from? Major Lim smiled. We don't store weapons in warehouses anymore. We store them in quantum space. They can be materialized anywhere in human territory instantly. Dr. O activated another part of the display. It showed human colonies throughout the galaxy, each one connected to the others by streams of energy. When the Council demanded that we disarm, we realized something important, he said. Traditional weapons are limited by physics. They can only be in one place at one time. They can be destroyed or captured. But consciousness, Major Lim continued, exists outside normal physics. It can be copied, transferred, and shared without loss. The aliens watched in growing horror as the implications became clear. Humanity hadn't just refused to disarm. They had made traditional warfare completely meaningless. If you attack any human settlement, Dr. O explained, every other human knows instantly. If you destroy one of our bodies, that person immediately comes back somewhere else. If you capture our weapons, we just make new ones from quantum storage. Velthar's voice came through the communicator, filled with barely controlled panic. This cannot be possible. No species has ever achieved such capabilities. Tejo, who had been quietly watching the demonstration, finally spoke. Honored speaker, you asked us to disarm because you feared our military power. But you misunderstood what makes humanity dangerous. It was never our weapons. It was our refusal to accept that any problem cannot be solved. The alien representatives were silent. They were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. You see, Dr. O said gently, when you tried to disarm us, you forced us to find a better way to defend ourselves. And that way makes it impossible for anyone to conquer, enslave, or destroy humanity. Major Lim walked over to the window that looked out at the Earth below. The galaxy wanted us to become harmless, she said. Instead, we became something that makes harm irrelevant. The aliens realized they were no longer looking at a species they could control. They were looking at something entirely new, something that might be more powerful than all the other species in the galaxy combined, and the humans were just getting started. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 3 days. Speaker Velthar looked around the chamber at the panicked faces of representatives from across the galaxy. Some were arguing loudly, others sat in stunned silence, and a few had already left to warn their homeworlds. Order, Velthar called out, but his voice lacked its usual authority. We must discuss this situation calmly. Ambassador Tejo Kim sat in the center of the chamber, surrounded by angry aliens. But he looked perfectly relaxed, as if he was enjoying a pleasant conversation, instead of facing accusations from hundreds of hostile beings. You have deceived us, screeched Kixtal, a representative from the Vorthan Empire. You promised to disarm, but instead you have become more dangerous than ever. Tejo shook his head. We promised to comply with your disarmament order, and we did. We removed every weapon from every ship, dismantled every military base, and sent every soldier home. But you created something worse. Krexhai's crystal body rang with fear. You have made your entire species into a weapon. No, Tejo replied, calmly. We made our entire species impossible to destroy. There's a difference. Dr. So-Young Park stood up beside him. Honored beings, I understand your fear. But consider what you have actually witnessed. Has humanity attacked anyone? Have we threatened any species? Have we used our new capabilities to conquer or harm? The chamber fell quiet. It was true. Despite their new power, humans had not attacked anyone. Fleet Commander Boram Shin appeared as a hologram in the center of the chamber. She was broadcasting from Earth, but her image was so clear she might have been standing there in person. Distinguished council members, she said, perhaps it would help if you understood what our defensive network actually does. The air above, the chamber filled with a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Thousands of lights sparkled throughout known space. Every blue light represents a human settlement, Commander Shin explained. Every green light is a consciousness transfer station. Every red light is a quantum storage facility. The aliens stared at the map in horror. There were far more lights than they had expected. Humanity was everywhere. But here's what you need to understand, Commander Shin continued. This network exists only for defense. Watch. The map zoomed in on a section near the outer rim. Several red lights began flashing. 3 weeks ago, hegemony raiders attacked the peaceful trader convoy near Epsilon Station. The convoy was carrying medical supplies to refugee camps. The map showed enemy ships moving toward the convoy. Using traditional methods, it would have taken days for any military force to respond. The convoy would have been destroyed, and the raiders would have escaped. But with our new network, Commander Shin said, something different happened. The map showed quantum signatures appearing around the raider ships. Within seconds, the attackers were surrounded by human vessels that had materialized from nowhere. Our ships appeared instantly from quantum storage. Our crews transferred their consciousness across light years in real time. The raiders were captured before they could fire a single shot. Dr. Wu Jin Kang materialized as another hologram. The elderly scientist looked tired but determined. Council members, he said, what you're really afraid of is change. For thousands of years, the galaxy has operated according to certain rules. Stronger species dominate weaker ones. Distance provides safety. Death ends resistance. He gestured to the map still floating above them. Humanity has changed those rules. We cannot be dominated because we cannot be permanently killed. Distance provides no safety from us, but also no danger. We can be anywhere instantly, but only to defend the innocent. Death no longer ends our resistance to evil. Velthar finally found his voice. But what happens when your species decides that other beings are evil? What happens when you decide that the galaxy would be better under human control? Teho stood up. Speaker Velthar, in the 3 days since you learned about our capabilities, how many human ships have attacked Council facilities? None, Velthar admitted reluctantly. How many human settlements have declared independence from galactic law? None. How many times have we used our consciousness network to spy on other species or steal their secrets? Velthar was quiet. The answer is none, Teho said. We have not used our new capabilities to hurt anyone. We have used them only to protect ourselves and others who cannot protect themselves. A new voice spoke from the gallery. It belonged to HFY, a young Zephyrian who had been working with human scientists. Perhaps, HFY said, we are afraid of the wrong thing. Perhaps we should be afraid of what the galaxy will become if humanity decides we are too dangerous to work with. The chamber turned to look at the young crystal being. I have worked with humans for 2 years, HFY continued. I have seen their laboratories, their schools, their families. They are not conquerors. They are builders. They do not seek to dominate. They seek to understand. Commander Shin's hologram nodded. We developed this technology because you forced us to. But now that we have it, we want to share it. Share it? Gasped several aliens at once. Dr. Kang smiled. Not the weapons technology, not the military applications, but the consciousness transfer system, the quantum communication network, the ability to back up and restore life itself. The chamber erupted in arguments again. Some species were interested, others were terrified, and a few seemed to be calculating whether they could steal the technology. Teho raised his hand for silence. But, he said, we will only share this technology with species that prove they will use it responsibly, species that use it to protect the innocent, not to conquer their enemies, species that see it as a way to preserve life, not to end it. Velthar leaned forward. And who decides which species are responsible enough? All of us, Teho replied. Together. That's what the Galactic Council is for, isn't it? To make decisions that affect the entire galaxy? The chamber was quiet for a long moment. The aliens were beginning to understand that humanity wasn't threatening them. They were offering them something incredible. There's something else you should know, Commander Shin said. Several species have already tried to attack us since you learned about our capabilities. The map above the chamber changed to show recent events. Near the Rigel system, Dominion warships had opened fire on a human research station. In the Vega sector, Consortium raiders had attempted to capture human civilians for study. In each case, Commander Shin explained, our response was immediate but proportionate. We defended ourselves, captured the attackers, and then released them with a warning. Dr. Kang nodded. We could have destroyed their entire fleets in seconds. We could have traced their consciousness patterns and eliminated their species' leadership, but we didn't. Instead, Taeho said, we demonstrated that attacking humanity is pointless, but we didn't punish them for trying. We want to discourage aggression, not create enemies. Velthar stood up slowly. The ancient alien looked older than ever. What do you want from us? He asked. Nothing, Taeho replied. We want to give you something. A galaxy where death is no longer permanent. Where distance is no longer a barrier. Where any species can call for help and receive it instantly. But only, Dr. Kang added, if they're willing to use that power to protect others, not to destroy them. Commander Shin's hologram smiled. The choice is yours, Honored Council. You can fear us and try to fight us, which would be pointless and costly. Or you can work with us to build something better than any species has ever achieved alone. The chamber was silent as hundreds of alien minds tried to process what they had heard. Humanity had not conquered them, but they had made conquest impossible. They had not threatened the galaxy, but they had made threats meaningless. And now they were offering to share the greatest breakthrough in galactic history. Velthar looked around the chamber one last time. Council members, he said, I believe we need to discuss a new kind of relationship with humanity, one based not on fear, but on possibility. For the first time in days, Taeho Kim smiled a genuinely happy smile. Now you're beginning to understand, he said.